Can I help you? Take your hand off me. Hi, my name is Scott Rogers. I'm an expert in Kyusho-Jitsu pressure point fighting. The topic of today's program is going to be kicking pressure points. So what we're going to learn is what part of the foot to use to actually strike and what spots on the body are vulnerable to pressure point strikes using kicking. We're also going to show a few examples, self-defense examples of how you would combine these points together. Learning to kick pressure points is a much higher skill than learning to use your hands, just for the fact that it's a lot harder to kick than it is to use hand strikes. So your balance, your speed, and your timing are going to have to be that much better. For self-defense situations, 99% of the time we're going to kick below the waist, but we're going to show you some pressure points above the waist and even some head strikes that you can use using the legs. We're also going to cover some striking that we can use in the ground grappling game, using our legs from the guard position, from the cross-side position, and show you different spots that you can strike. I hope you enjoy this program. All right, before we get to the pressure points, we're going to get started by showing you the different kicks and striking areas we're going to be using to actually hit these points. First kick will be the front kick. The front kick can be done in two ways. We can be using the ball of the foot or the tip of the toes. Which one you use will be dependent upon how soft your target is and whether you're wearing shoes or not. So with the ball of the foot, basic front kick, extend and back. If we were to use the toes, it would be the same thing, just the toes would go in. Obviously, again, a harder target area would require the ball of the foot. Softer target area would require the toes. Similar to the front kick would be the roundhouse kick. Roundhouse kick also has two striking points, the toes, the ball of the foot. As I throw the roundhouse kick around with the ball, I come across. If I had a softer target or if I was wearing hard shoes, I would stick the toes in the same way. The advantage of using the toes is it's a much more condensed striking area. So it would be similar to using a single knuckle fist as opposed to a full fist. So it really depends on your target and your situation. Next part of the foot we're going to cover is the side kick. Side kick uses the bottom of the heel. Side kick can be done in two ways. It could be done into the target, or if the person was on the ground, stomping down. Obviously, depends what you're aiming for. But one thing you don't want to do is hit flat or hit with the toes. Always digging the heel in, digging the heel in. Very important. The next surface area is going to be the back of the heel. The back of the heel has two distinct ways of doing it. One is what we call a hook kick, where the kick comes around. The second way would be if the person was on the ground, kicking down, in what's commonly referred to as an axe kick. Or if you had your partner bent over, we can bring it up and drop the kick down. All right? The next kick is a different kick. It's called the reverse roundhouse kick. Instead of coming across, we're going to take the same foot and turn it backwards using the ball, twisting in a reverse motion. It's a very sneaky kick, and it's used to get around the person's leg if they're in a different stance. If they have one leg in the front and you're aiming for here, you can shoot around. So whether he's facing you sideways this way or the other way, you can do either the roundhouse or the reverse to get whatever target that you're aiming for. First 4 points we're going to cover work together. They're called the knee points. These points are probably some of the more dangerous points we're going to learn because done properly, they will dislocate or break the knee. So always be careful with these, extremely careful, more than any of the other points, because you're not just going to knock somebody down or knock them out. You're going to break their leg in a way that it's unfixable. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to have Dusan step forward with one foot. We're going to explain how this works. We're going to find where his kneecap is. We're going to make 4 spots. 1, 2, 3, 4. So like an X across his knee. Each spot is approximately an inch above the knee. On the inside, on the outside, so you could pinch on the bottom and on the other side where you can pinch. The 2 points on the top need to be struck down to buckle his leg. Same thing if I come on the other side, going down. The 2 points underneath get struck upwards to buckle his leg. Now the techniques that we would use for this, switch feet for a second. The first one would be a side kick. If, let's say, he was punching, whatever he was doing, I moved out. Instead of actually kicking the knee, I would kick slightly above onto the spot to buckle his leg. From the opposite side, I would do it the same way. If I moved out this way, I would kick above the spot to buckle his leg. Just from a light tap, you could see how far his leg goes. If I extend my leg and I did it fast, there's a good chance of dislocating his knee there. Now for the bottom points, it needs to be struck in an upward motion. So you could use a front kick coming up from both sides. That is one way. But an easier way is to use what's called a scoop kick, where you just bring the foot up and slap across, which will buckle the leg out. Same thing on the other side, scoop up. So now if he was to grab me and I needed to get out, I could buckle the leg to set up my hand strikes. Generally, we would kick first low to set up our hand strikes up high. Quickest way to end any confrontation is striking the head and neck area. So while the kicks alone can do serious damage, they work a lot better as a setup. So if he's punching and I come in and I take his knee, it's a perfect setup for a follow-up shot or an arm lock or even a throwing technique. So remember, the knee's forward, 4 points, about an inch above the knee, an inch below the knee. The 2 top ones go down, the 2 bottom ones come up. You need to extend your leg. If I only come down a little bit, he only moves a little bit. If I extend all the way, that's what's going to make his leg buckle when I hit it nice and hard. The next 2 points we're going to cover are the inner and outer thigh points, spleen 11 and gallbladder 31. Both of these points could put your opponent to the ground and make his leg move in one direction or the other, depending on how hard you hit. The outer thigh point will give him what's called a dead leg or a Charlie horse, where he won't be able to stand. The inner thigh point will spread his base out, which will make him easier to throw or to follow up with another kick or a different strike. These points are located, if he steps forward, directly in half between his knee and his hip and into the center. Just by pressing it with one finger, it's very sensitive. On the outside, switch your feet for 1 second, it's located in the exact same spot, half, but on the outside, and it needs to be struck a little bit harder. Reason for that is if you feel on your own thigh, the inside is soft compared to the outside. The inside one you can do more damage to with a lighter shot, but the outside one, because of the muscles, once you get through them, it's more sensitive. So the muscles act sort of like armor around the point, but once you get through it, the point itself is actually more sensitive. 2 ways that we strike this, with our foot and with our knee. The knee is the easier way, but you need to be very close for that. So let's say he was to grab me and pull me in close. I would go for the inside thigh point with my knee to his knee. And with a light shot, you could see the amount of off balance that he has. Let's say I wanted to set up an arm lock. Once I was here, I would have the arm lock immediately. Okay? What I can also do is after I strike here, it sets up a perfect groin shot because there's no way he can move his legs to protect himself. So that's one option. If he has, actually switch again. For the outside of the thigh, if he was throwing a punch, we would come in and strike it. And very light strike buckles his leg a little bit harder, and it's really going to put him down. Set him up for a strike, set him up for a throw. Second way to attack these points is with the foot. Depending on which one you choose will depend on which kick you use. For the outside point, punch with the left again, we would use the side kick and drive through. Again, this is thick muscle. If you came in with a roundhouse kick, you might be able to take it. But if you dig a side kick with the heel in, it's going to get an awesome effect. Now, grab. For the inside, we have a choice. We can either use our roundhouse kick, or we could use a special kick with our heel. So it's sort of like a front kick, but it kicks off to the side, and the heel's the striking point. So when he grabs, we kick, and it buckles his leg out, setting him up for another kick, a strike, or you can see the arm is right there for an arm lock. So no matter how he grabs, whichever foot is in front, grab. If I see this foot in front, that's the side I hit. Put the other foot. If I see the other foot, that's the side that I hit. If he was to punch and he was here, I would hit the outside of the thigh. If he was to step with the left and punch with the right, then I could come into the inside of the thigh with a front kick and buckle it. Something to keep in mind is if you do kick these points, there's a good chance that your opponent will be on the ground. So when you figure in your follow-up techniques, figure that he's going to be on the ground, you're going to have to close real quick and either grapple with him or continue striking and kicking. The next 3 points we're going to cover are on the lower leg, the foot and the calf. The first one we're going to do is we're going to have Dusan take a step forward, and it's located between the last two toes, the pinky toe and I guess the ring toe. You're going to go about an inch up, then you're going to feel a hollow pocket. When you press it, you know that you're on the spot. Now for practice purposes, throw a punch, we're just going to use our toe to make sure that we're on the spot, and it's very painful. Real situation, he's got shoes, he's got whatever, so as he comes in, we would stomp it. If you stomp this point with your heel, there's a very good chance, like 95%, of breaking his foot in that spot. All right, this point can also be used, like bear hug, if he was behind me to help release from the hold. Okay? A lot of people try to stomp on the instep of the foot. The instep of the foot is a very strong bone. It's one of the strongest bones in the human body. So if you get his toes a little bit, he may let go. But if you focus for the corner towards the pinky toe, it's going to be much more effective. Right? The second point, step forward with the right. You're going to find his ankle bone. We place our hand above the ankle bone. Right where the top of your hand is, on the inside of the bone, behind the shin bone, is the point. The point will buckle his ankle and make his knee move to the outside. So when you press it, it buckles. The way we're going to kick this is with the same scoop kick that we used for the inside of his knee. So if he steps forward and grabs, and I see the opening, I'm going to scoop kick with the inside of my heel, and it's a very effective shot. No matter how effective it may look right now, when you have shoes on, it's 10 times as effective because it's very painful. So what you're looking to do is dig the inside of your heel and strike him on the inside of his ankle. Usually if he's going to grab you, punch you, whatever he's going to do, he's going to take a step. Whichever foot's in the front, that's the one you attack. If he was to step with the other foot, that's the one that you attack. The advantage in this is it's a very quick kick, it's very low, and it's below his line of sight, so he will not see it. Also, you can still use your hands while you do the kick. It doesn't disrupt your balance because you don't have to lean back, you don't have to tilt, anything like that. The third point, just turn, is going to be on the back of the leg. It's the bladder point on the calf. We're going to find the back of his knee. We're going to find the bottom of his calf muscle. Approximately 1/3 of the way up, we're going to find a little hole, and that's where we're pressing. This serves one purpose, and that is to bring him down to the ground. So if he was facing me, let's come on this side, and he punches with the right, I would block using my heel. I would kick into the point to drop him to the ground. A secondary application, grappling position, is if I was throwing him, usually we'll do the throw this way, going between the legs. That's so that I can throw him and not injure him. But if I wanted to hurt him and make it a little more damaging, I would use the heel against here and take him down. Now that was just a tap and he felt it, but if you kick it hard, you're going to disable his leg. He won't be able to do very much, probably not even stand. What we're going to use now is the front kick. We're going to show some targets and some basic self-defense applications for it. The first one that we're going to use is if he extends his arm, if you go all the way to his body and up into his arm, is a point called heart 1. This is a very sensitive point. It's almost in the armpit. When even just squeezing it with your thumb is a little bit painful. Kicking this point, aside from the pain that it will induce, will also dislocate his shoulder. So one way that we get to that point is if he punches, we step out, and with our front kick, preferably with the toes, we kick up into it. We can use the ball of the foot, but the toes will be much more painful. And it sets up perfectly for a follow-up shot. All right, so watch one more time. He punches, step out, straight up into the armpit, front kick.